Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Keeping It Real show. I am your host, Jackie Madison. Today is Wednesday, September the 27th, 2017. Thank you for tuning in. The Keeping It Real show is a show that's dedicated to keeping it real by bringing you news, stories, and information, past, present, and up to date. Some topics and content may be controversial. Therefore, remember, although this is an adult show, we keep rudeness and discrimination out, and we welcome the unbiased truth with respect in humanistic manners. If you have a problem, question, comment, suggestion, or concern about any content, please feel free to forward them to me at jjmadison001 at google.com or leave a comment below. We're going to begin our show today with a segment that I call What You Say Wednesdays. It's the Hump Day show that discusses news and information from around the world that makes you say what you say and tickles your belly a bit. Our first story comes to us from Brisbane, Australia, where a woman, Judy Carroll, 64, claims to have communicated with extraterrestrials since being a child. She says she interacts with the classic race of aliens better known as the Greys, who are famed for their large heads and eyes. They're the race of aliens that we see mostly in movies. Carl says we have nothing to fear from the alien visitors who simply want to help humans evolve from our more primitive states. She's one of the growing number of people to come forward who claim to be half alien, half human after their mothers were abducted and injected with alien DNA while being pregnant. I say, what you say? The next What You Say comes to us from the Huffington Post. Tilted Rabbit sets world record for dunking basketball. All right, watch out now, LeBron. Benny the Bunny, a 5-year-old Holland Lop rabbit, has been trained to dunk basketballs by his owner, Shay Osor. He was recently honored with the Guinness World Record for most basketball slam dunks in 1 minute by a rabbit. Now that's a hair-raising achievement. What you say? There's a mad pooper on the prowl in Colorado. All right now, pull up a stool because the story is no bull crap. This week, news broke out about a mad pooper, a female jogger in Colorado Springs, who's been terrorizing a family by defecating outside of their home on a weekly basis. I mean, this female jogger is going to people's homes in this community in Colorado and straight taking a dump. According to Lieutenant Howard Black of the Colorado Springs Police Department, who told the Huffington Post this story, he says that this isn't an isolated problem and that the woman has been pooping all over the neighborhood. So the makers of Charmin Tissue has issued a statement on Twitter where they are offering the mad pooper a year's supply of tissue if she turns herself in. What you say? That is amazing. I mean, how could you be so bold to walk in someone's yard? I mean, they even have, look this up on the internet, you guys, because they even have a video of this woman. They don't have a video of her in action actually pooping, but they have a video of the suspected jogger who they think is doing the defecating on people's lawns. So check that story out. Again, the title of that story is The Mad Pooper. That's the end of our What You Say segment. If you would like to contribute material to What You Say Wednesdays, please forward the information to me at the email address I gave you at the beginning of the broadcast. Now, moving on to more interesting stories, Washington Associated Press. Today, they issued a story in regards to President Donald Trump, who has a new message for the NFL. And his message is change or business is going to go to hell. I mean, this president is off the chain. He says anything. He tweets anything. He cusses on TV. He is just not president or leadership material. But anyway, getting back to the story, Trump said Wednesday that the NFL is in a really bad box over the issue of players kneeling in protest during the national anthem. He said ratings are falling and the only thing doing well is the NFL pregame show. Beginning with the rally last Friday in Alabama, Trump has been criticizing players who kneeled during the Star Spangled Banner to protest racial injustice. If you listened to my show yesterday, I got into the protesting of the NFL players, talked a little bit about Colin, who actually began protesting the Star Spangled Banner and the flag. I gave you guys some history in regards to the flag and how it correlates to slavery, to our ancestors who were enslaved, and just black people in general in America. And Trump went on to call NFL players SOBs. So now he's in essence trying to coerce the NFL managers and VPs to change the way that they are doing things, in essence, to stop the NFL players from kneeling, or else their business is going to go, in Trump's word, to hell. But anyway, Trump, since he's been criticizing players who's kneeling to the Star Spangled Banner, which they are protesting racial injustice by kneeling during the Star Spangled Banner. Trump said that the NFL should require that players stand during the anthem. So this is a hot topic again, because here Donald Duck Trump is trying to push his perspective onto other people. The fact of the matter is that the NFL players and anyone else has the right to pledge the flag if they want to, or they do not have to pledge allegiance to the flag. Donald Trump does not understand the deeper social context behind the movement. Again, the flag represents racial injustice and inequality. Therefore, those of you who do not wish to recite the pledge or stand in honor of the flag has the right to do so. And that is keeping it real. This news story comes to you from AP Wire of the AssociatedPress.com. Another story from AP that has to do with President Donald Trump and his congressional Republicans. They are proposing a far-reaching $5 trillion plan. And they just proposed it today, Wednesday, 9/27, that would cut taxes for corporations and potentially for individuals, simplifying the tax system, and nearly double the standard deduction used by most Americans. I will repeat. This plan is supposed to simplify the tax system and nearly double the standard deduction used by most Americans. The plan is sweeping in scope, but it omits critical controversial details that are likely to take months to work out in a bitterly divided GOP-led Congress. The political stakes are high for Republicans and for Trump, whose agenda has largely stalled as the GOP abandoned efforts to repeal the Obama-era health law. Republicans see tax overhaul as a once-in-generation opportunity that could produce a large political payoff. Though some polls show the public is skeptical that average Americans will benefit much. Now, here's my take on this proposal. These politicians are Republican who does not have a good or worthy trust record, okay? Just as simple as that. Republicans, you don't have a good or worthy trust record when it comes to middle class and poor people. Therefore, I doubt that we, the middle class and poor people, will benefit at all in a positive way from your proposal. And one other point I want to make is you need The Republicans, you need to stop bringing President Obama up in your messy political mess. Republicans, you continue to try to tarnish President Obama's reputation. But the truth of the matter, as far as presidents go for this country, Mr. President Obama, you were and still are the greatest. And that's keeping it real. Today in news, a high school student in New York who'd been fighting with two classmates suddenly attacked them with a switchblade knife during history class, killing one boy and gravely wounding another. Police reports the incident took place about 15 minutes into third period at the Urban Assembly School for Wildlife Conservation. It's a middle school in the Bronx. Chief of Police and Chief Detectives Robert Boyce said an 18-year-old stabbed a 15-year-old once in the chest, and the 16-year-old died at the hospital, unfortunately. No, the 15-year-old died at the hospital, and the 16-year-old is in critical but stable condition. According to police, the 18-year-old attacker then walked out into the hallway where he met a counselor and handed her a bloodied switchblade. Detective Boyce reports he then went to the assistant principal's office and quietly sat, waiting for the authorities to arrive. About 15 to 20 other students were in the classroom at the time, but no one else was injured, only the boys who had been bullying this student. This is a sad, sad atrocity for all involved. Whenever someone commits murder, it has a domino effect. It's never easy to deal with. And on top of that, to exacerbate things, the death of a loved one is never easy. But when their lives are randomly taken from them by senseless acts, it just reverberates deeper in our spirits. This case is another example of how unhealthy bullying is. If only the bullied student would have known how to de-escalate or just reached out to a mental health practitioner or an official at the school or someone in the community who could have directed him to the proper help services, then maybe this incident would have been avoided. At any rate, we should make sure that we are in the know in regards to violence and suicide, because both of them are serious public health problems that can have lasting harmful effects on individuals, families, communities. While its causes are complex and determined by multiple factors, the goal of violence and suicide prevention is simple. Reduce factors that cause risk. For example, just the risk factors, we want to reduce those. And increase factors that promote resilience, i.e., protective factors. Ideally, prevention addresses all levels of influence: individuals, relationship, community, and societal. Effective prevention strategies are needed to promote awareness of possible violence and suicide that could lead to harm and death, and suicide, and encourage a commitment to social change. If you or anyone you know are victims of bullying or violence or contemplating suicide, know there are many people who can talk to you and help you overcome these challenges. Just in case you need contact information, I'm going to give you some information later on, but what really works when it comes to de-escalating anxious, hostile, or challenging behavior? And how do you respond to the behavior? And what would you do different in order to defuse a situation that could potentially be harmful, violent, or when someone comes to you and says that they feel like committing suicide? I have some tips here that I found helpful when dealing with violent or stressful situations. The first is you want to prevent a physical confrontation by any means necessary. Then stay calm, manage your own response, set limits, handle challenging situations, and prevent a physical confrontation. And all of these tips can be downloaded or copied from my Facebook page or from my YouTube page, Keeping It Real with Jackie. Some helpful phone numbers: National Hotline for Crime Victims, 1-855-4-VICTIM. That's 1-855-484-2846. Or you can contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. That number again is 1-800-273-8255. Violence and suicide is never the answer. They have a domino effect that lasts a lifetime. So take care of yourself and others. And that's keeping it real. Today in history. Today in history, September 27, in the year 1540, the Society of Jesus, a religious order, Ignatius Loyola, is approved by the Pope. And in 1669, the island of Crete in the Mediterranean Sea falls to the Ottoman Turks after a 21-year siege. In 1791, Jews in France are granted French citizenship. In 1864, Confederate guerrilla Bloody Bill Anderson and his henchmen, including a teenage Jesse James, massacred 20 unarmed Union soldiers at Centralia, Missouri. The event becomes known as the Centralia Massacre. In 1954, Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland were integrated with the first African Americans to attend public schools. In 1912, W.C. Handy publishes Memphis Blues, the first blues song. In 1915, Xavier University, the first to date only black Catholic college in the United States, opened its doors in New Orleans, Louisiana, and that's keeping it real. Well, that brings us to the end of today's segment of the Keeping It Real show for What You Say Wednesdays. Until next time, remember, always keep it real.